Patricia and Richard sat Emily down in the formal living room. The air was heavy with unspoken threat.
Emily, we've shielded you long enough. Your father owes $420,000 to a man named James.
James is a banking executive. He's offered to forgive the debt entirely on one condition.
A condition. They're going to trade me.
He wants to marry you, Emily. He's 41, but he's kind, and he's offering to save us all.
You can't be serious. You want me to marry a man I've never met to pay for Dad's mistakes?
Mistakes? That $420,000 kept this roof over your head. You'll do it, or we'll all be on the street.
Emily stared at the polished wood of the dining table, every option closing in on her.
I'm 19. I should be deciding my future, not being traded for it. Fine, I'll marry him. But don't ever call this love.
The wedding was small, a handful of guests in a quiet chapel. Emily wore a simple dress someone else had chosen.
He looks older than I imagined, but his eyes aren't unkind.
The rings were plain gold bands, but James had insisted they be real, not a prop.
I know this isn't what you wanted. I won't pretend otherwise.
You don't have to be kind. I know why I'm here.
James didn't press. He only nodded and led her to the car. That first night, he showed her to a guest room, not the master suite.
There's no hurry. Take the guest room if you prefer. This isn't a prison.
He's not demanding anything. This isn't what I braced for.
They ate dinner in near silence, but James asked after her day, not about her parents, not about the debt, as if she were a person, not a transaction.
Maybe this won't be the nightmare I expected. But what kind of man makes a deal like this and asks nothing in return?
Over the weeks that followed, James never pushed. He shared his home, his books, his quiet.
No demands, no mention of the deal. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop.
One evening, the phone rang. Richard's voice came through, not asking after Emily, but demanding more money.
Richard, that debt was forgiven for Emily's sake. I'm not a bank for your recurring mistakes.
He refused them, and he never even told me.
The only family who visited was Anna, Emily's younger sister, the one who actually cared.
Em, are you okay? Is he treating you right?
He's kind, Anna. He gives me space. I don't understand it, but I'm not afraid anymore.
That night, after Anna had gone, James found her by the bedroom window, her shoulders finally loose.
Maybe this isn't a trap. Maybe it's a strange, quiet gift I never expected.
For 11 years, the quiet rhythm of their life together had erased the transaction that started it. Emily stopped waiting for cruelty that never came. But then James grew tired in ways rest couldn't fix. Tests revealed pancreatic cancer, already advanced.
He looks so small in that bed. How can the man who saved me just fade?
Emily, you turned a bad bargain into the best years of my life.
You gave me a home when I had none. I love you, James.
She refused to leave his side, sleeping in the chair beside him as his voice grew thinner. In the last hours, he couldn't speak. He only held her gaze, and she understood. James died at 52, his hand in hers, on a rain-slicked Tuesday morning. At the funeral, Emily stood in black, accepting condolences she barely heard. Her parents sat in the back, but she had no words for them.
He's gone. The only person who loved me without conditions.
3 days after the funeral, James's attorney Andrew summoned Emily to his office. He withdrew a thick manila envelope sealed with crimson wax. James's handwriting on the front.
James prepared this for you years ago. He insisted it be given when you were ready.
Secrets? After 11 years, I thought there were no walls left between us.
Andrew slid the envelope across the leather desk. For Emily, when she's ready, read the ink.
What could he possibly need to tell me now that he couldn't say in life?
He didn't disclose the contents, Emily. Only that you would know what to do with it.
Her fingers trembled as she lifted it. The envelope was heavier than paper should be.
Either a final gift or a final betrayal. I'm not sure I want to know.
She left the office clutching the file against her coat, the seal unbroken, the question burning in her chest. In the study she'd shared with James, Emily set the sealed envelope on the desk.
Why seal something from your wife? What could be so damning?
She broke the wax with a letter opener, her breath catching as the paper gave way.
Bank ownership documents, James's name, and the bank that holds my parents' debts.
The papers confirmed James had secretly acquired a controlling interest in the bank that held her parents' loans.
He bought the bank my parents owed. He controlled them all along, and I never knew.
Loan restructuring notices, dated to her 30th birthday, a trap with her at the center.
11 years of kindness a cover. I was just a piece in his long game.
Tears spilled as she spread the documents across the desk, her world crumbling in silence.
The man I loved was a stranger. What else did he hide from me?
The documents revealed a consolidated loan total that made her hands shake, $1.8 million.
That's more than the original debt. They kept borrowing behind my back.
The restructuring clause was brutal. The entire amount due on her 30th birthday.
He set me up as the trigger. I become the executioner on a date he chose.
A separate folder held a mortgage document signed by Richard, on a property he never owned.
A fraudulent mortgage. My father committed a crime, and James kept the evidence.
James had restructured every loan so that Emily, and only Emily, could call them due.
He gave me all the power. But power to do what? Destroy them? For whose satisfaction?
In the mirror, she saw a woman clutching a weapon she never asked for, grieving a man she no longer trusted.
Revenge or protection? I can't tell. And that not knowing might be the cruelest part.
The moment Anna crossed the threshold, she wrapped Emily in her arms and held tight.
I came as soon as you called. Tell me what's happened.
Emily led her to the study, the evidence of James's secret still scattered across the desk.
He owned the bank, Anna. He restructured the loans to destroy them or make me do it.
That doesn't sound like James. The man I watched love you for 11 years wouldn't do that. You need to read every word. There has to be more than what you've found.
She's right. He never hurt me. Maybe I'm misreading a gift I was too afraid to trust.
The file still held unread pages, a thicker envelope, sealed separately, waited at the bottom.
I need to finish this. Whatever else he wrote, I owe him the chance to be heard.
In the mirror, a woman stared back who was ready to know the whole truth, no matter the cost. Emily broke the inner seal with trembling fingers. Inside, James's familiar cursive covered a single folded sheet. I didn't buy you. I bought back your freedom.
He didn't owe me. He saw my cage and built a key.
The bank is yours now, fully, no conditions.
I thought he trapped me. He'd been giving me the power all along.
If you want to forgive every dollar your parents owe, I'll have been glad to help. If you want to call the loans, I will be glad to have helped that too.
He didn't decide for me. He loved me enough to let me choose.
Whichever you choose, I loved you for the woman you became, not the deal we started with.
11 years of silence, and he'd been telling me every day. I just didn't know the language.
The letter blurred as tears fell. James had given her the last piece of the puzzle. Absolute freedom. For 3 days, Emily barely left the study. The letter lay open beside the financial documents, 2 truths now reconciled.
He was the opposite of them in every way. They sold me, he freed me.
She replayed moments she'd once dismissed, the quiet dinners, the way he looked at her without demand.
I thought he was just being polite. He was loving me on purpose, every single day.
Then she remembered the cold weight of her parents' ultimatum, the transaction they'd called love.
They used me as currency. James turned that same debt into my liberation.
She pictured their faces if she walked into that bank and signed the papers. They would never see it coming.
But it wouldn't be cruelty. It would be the consequence they avoided for 20 years. James said I could forgive or call. Forgiving would be easy, but would it honor his sacrifice?
By the fourth morning, the decision had hardened. She picked up the phone, her thumb over Andrew's number. That afternoon, Emily walked into Andrew's office with the file under her arm, her face set.
You've read the file. What would you like to do, Emily?
Call every loan due. I want the full notice issued, 90 days, exactly as James structured it.
Andrew didn't flinch. He nodded slowly, as if he'd expected this answer.
James mentioned you might choose this route. He prepared the paperwork years ago.
He produced a pre-drafted demand letter. Emily signed where indicated, her signature steady.
This isn't revenge. It's the end of a debt that should never have been mine.
The attorney attached the loan documents, including the fraudulent mortgage, to the notice. Emily watched, imagining the envelope arriving at her parents' door, the clock starting. As she rose to leave, the weight she'd carried for years began to shift to her parents' shoulders. The demand letter arrived on a Tuesday. By Wednesday evening, Patricia's desperate voice filled Emily's phone.
Emily, please. We're your parents. You can't do this to us. We'll lose everything. You sold me, Patricia. Did you think that debt would never come due? It was for the family. Your father made mistakes, but we had no choice.
Richard snatched the phone, his roar shredding any pretense of remorse.
You'll regret this, Emily. I'll sue you and that dead husband's estate into the ground.
Sue the bank that owns your fraud, Richard? Go ahead. We'll be homeless. Is that what you want, Emily? I want what I never had. A choice. Now you have 90 days to find yours.
She ended the call. Outside the window, rain began to streak the glass. But inside, Emily's hands were finally still. The first weeks were a blur of desperate calls. Every bank they contacted declined within minutes.
This is that dead husband's doing. He set us up from the start.
He gave Emily the power, and she's not going to let go.
Their accounting firm cut ties, citing the fraudulent mortgage as an uninsurable risk. With no income and no refinancing, they began emptying the house into borrowed boxes. The legal notice appeared in the Sunday paper, foreclosure sale, March 14th. Emily read it in her study. She filed the clipping with James's letter. The apartment they'd secured was a one-bedroom unit, 2 hours away, overlooking a parking lot. Patricia couldn't stop crying. Richard stopped talking, surrounded by boxes. On the final day, their phones went silent. The auction was the next morning. That evening, Emily sat in the study and read the foreclosure notice one final time. The words blurred slightly from rereading, but the date was burned into her memory.
James bought me this choice. Tomorrow I use it.
She set the paper down and stood, her mind already half at the cemetery.
I understand now, James. You didn't buy me. You set me free. Thank you for giving me the power to choose, even when it hurt.
The cemetery held the last light of dusk, the silence a benediction. She touched the headstone, the polished granite cold under her fingers, and felt the weight of 11 years lift. Back home, her phone lit up with Anna's name.
Emily, it's tomorrow. Please, let me be there with you.
I need to face them alone, but I'll call you the moment it's over.
The auction room was bright and tense. Emily entered alone, and her eyes found them immediately, Patricia and Richard seated at the back, looking diminished.
They have no idea I'm bidding against them.
The auctioneer called the opening bid at $50,000. Voices responded rapidly. Emily raised her paddle at $200,000 without hesitation. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The price climbed to $310,000. The other bidder hesitated, then fell silent. The gavel struck. 3 times. Sold.
The house is mine. After everything, I now own the roof they held over my head.
Across the room, Richard's face drained to ash. Patricia clutched her purse and began to weep. Emily stood, her back a straight line, and walked to the signing table without a backward glance. When the deed was slid toward her, she traced her name on the paper. For James, for herself. Later that afternoon, Emily sat across from Anna in a quiet office. The signed deed lay on the table between them.
Emily, what is this? You bought our old house?
I bought it, but it's not for me. I'm transferring it to you.
Anna's hands flew to her mouth. Her eyes glistened.
I can't accept this. It's too much.
James would have wanted you to have it. You were the one who visited when no one else did.
Anna broke down, and the two sisters embraced, the deed sliding to the floor.
This house doesn't own me anymore. Let it hold new memories for you.
Emily folded the transfer papers and placed the keys on top. The house now belonged to Anna. As Emily left the office, she carried only her purse. For the first time in years, she felt light. 3 days after the auction, a battered moving truck pulled up to the curb. Patricia and Richard emerged, carrying boxes in silence.
This is what's left. A one-bedroom box 2 hours from everything we built.
We should be grateful she didn't press charges. The fraud alone could have buried us.
The apartment smelled of old carpet and defeat. They stacked their boxes against the walls and didn't speak. Patricia sat on the edge of the mattress and wept without sound. Richard stared at the blank TV, his hands limp. Across town, Emily parked her car a block away and watched the moving truck depart.
This is the last time I'll ever see them. And it's because they made it a choice between my freedom and their ruin.
She didn't get out. She didn't wave. She only wanted to see it end. When the truck disappeared, Emily turned the ignition and drove in the opposite direction. She never saw them again. The debt was paid, and so was the cost of her freedom. The morning after, Emily returned to the cemetery with a bouquet of white roses. Her pace was steady and unhurried.
I used the power you gave me, James. I called the loans and bought the house.
She knelt and laid the roses against the granite, her fingers tracing his engraved name.
I gave the house to Anna. She was the only one who visited me back then.
A breeze stirred the oak leaves. The cemetery was silent except for the rustle of wind.
For 11 years you loved me without conditions. Now I understand why. You didn't buy me. You bought back my freedom and I've used it.
Her tears fell, but they were not the tears of grief. They were release. Then she smiled. A genuine smile she hadn't worn since before his diagnosis. She stood, pressed her palm to the stone once more, and walked toward the gate without looking back. 6 months later, Emily stood in a bright, empty office. The Henderson Foundation, named for James, would be funded by $14 million from his estate.
He freed me? Now I can free others.
A framed photograph of James already sat on the simple desk, the first item she had placed.
I won't let what happened to me happen to another girl.
She signed the incorporation papers with a steady hand, then hung the mission statement by the door. A small plaque read, "For women coerced into marriage, help, not judgment."
It's a start. The first real thing I've built without fear.
By sunset, the office had a desk, a phone, and the promise of a new purpose. Emily locked the door and stood for a moment in the hallway, the weight of James's gift now a force for others. 3 years after James's death, the Henderson Foundation opened its doors to its first beneficiary. She was 17, with her father's debts hanging around her neck like a weight.
You're safe now. Nobody can trade you for money here.
The girl's eyes filled with tears. She had heard the same ultimatum Emily once received.
The foundation will cover your housing, your legal fees, and your education until you're on your feet.
A folder with a rental agreement and a scholarship form slid across the desk. The girl's hands shook as she reached for it.
This is exactly what I needed at 19. I'm so glad I can offer it now.
The girl broke down in quiet sobs, her whole body surrendering relief. Emily took her hand across the table and didn't let go. Emily walked through the foundation's bright hallway. Light from the tall windows fell in long, warm rectangles on the polished floor. She paused at the end of the hall, her silhouette framed against the glass, looking out.
James would have loved this, a place where girls don't have to be bought.
A faint smile touched her lips. It was the same quiet smile she had given him at the grave. She thought of him now not with the sharp ache of loss, but with a steady gratitude that had grown roots. Outside the window, the city moved on. Inside, a stillness held that she had earned. The Foundation's rooms were empty at this hour, but they echoed with the weight of a gift given long ago. Freedom, once bought for her, was now buying freedom for others.
I used your gift, James. It's still giving.
She turned from the window and walked back into the heart of her purpose. In her Foundation office, the afternoon light fell across a single frame on the wall. Inside, James's letter, the ink slightly faded, rested beside a photograph of them together, young and unaware of what was coming. The words "I loved you for the woman you became" were barely visible under glass, but Emily didn't need to read them anymore. She sat at her desk, a new intake file in front of her. Another girl, another debt, another chance.
He'd be pleased. The quiet work continues.
She lifted her pen and began to write. The legacy had already outgrown the transaction that started it. This was not revenge or forgiveness. It was simply what freedom looked like when it was put to work. The framed letter caught the last of the sun, and for a moment, it seemed to glow. Then the light softened, and Emily kept writing, because the gift was always meant to keep giving. Fade to black.